Noor is a talentless loser born into a simple hillside family. His only skill is parrying, but he dreams of becoming the strongest adventurer out there. Despite numerous setbacks and rejections, he trains tirelessly for years to master the elusive parry skills and becomes the most powerful. The story begins with Noor, who is stuck in his dead-end job of cleaning out the gutters and canals of the city at the break of dawn. Before morning, he has to finish removing all the wastes and put back their wood coverings before the citizens pay him. After his morning work, he heads outside the city towards construction site, where he carries sacks and does manual labor the whole day. When afternoon arrives, Noor hears someone screaming for help in the nearby dungeon. He quickly runs to help and sees a group of knights protecting a tied-up girl against the power. Then scenes shift in the past. 15 years ago, as the Northwest Clay's kingdom, Noor is still just a normal boy doing chores at home. He tends to the fire, boils some hot water, and prepares hot tea for his ailing mother. Afterward, he has to go to the fields and tend to their flock of goats. He promises his mom he won't go beyond the rocks that borders their land, and also promises to bring home a wild rabbit for dinner. Before he leaves, his mother wipes away the sodden Noor's face and apologizes for being a burden for him. All she wants is for Noor to live the life he wants. Later that night, Noor prepares their rabbit soup for dinner, but when he brings a bowl for his mother has already passed away. He buries his mom next to his dad, and Noor's life living alone begins. He does his best tending to their gardens, hunting wild game in the forest, and taking care of their goats and chickens. Likewise, he keeps their house clean and even tries to read the boring books left in the house. He also collects firewood, catches fish in the nearby river, and herds the goats around the grassy hill, and he was all alone in his house with no one to eat his meals with. One night, Noor is exploring the shelves of their house when he accidentally simplified after finding a book. Upon opening the book, he was amazed to see that it was the story his father used to read to him when he was still alive. His father used to tell him stories of an adventurer who slayed a gigantic dragon with his friends, learned spells and magic from an old sorcerer, removed a curse put on a dark forest, and even obtained the medicine that cures everything from the king of the dead. Even against anything and how dark their situation is, the adventurer never gives up and fights evil for the sake of his friends. Noor was so happy listening to his father's words, and now he also remembers his mother's wish of him living the life he wants. The next day, he leaves out a lot of food for their animals, and Noor visits the grave of his parents. He offers them flowers and tells them that for the first time in his life he will be leaving town and he will become an adventurer, just like the ones in his father's stories. He heads down the hill they call home, and Noor stares at the stones marking the end of their land. He hardens his resolve and walks past the barrier protecting their home. When night falls, Noor is scared of all the noises coming out of the forest. Nevertheless, he perseveres, and a few days later, he finally reaches a city. After asking directions from the soldiers guarding the gate, Noor steps into his first foray into civilization. His eyes widen to see so many people around doing various things. He walks past vendors selling fruits and even sees an adventurer passing by. His eyes are filled with wonder and happiness as he heads to his destination, the Adventurers Guild. Unfortunately, the man behind the counter takes one look at Noor and shoos him away. The guild is not a place for kids. Noor insists that the guards already told him he can be an adventurer if he just applied here, but the man just points out that he will worry his parents. Noor explains that his parents are both dead, which finally catches the attention of the man. The man then asks for his name and tells him to go to the training school for different classes first. He explains to Noor that people hoping to register with the Royal Capital's Adventurer Guild has to go to lessons at the Royal Training School. There, they will get training based on their job class. If no one really wants to be an adventurer, he first needs to acquire some skills. This may be in the art of the sword or in the school of magic. Noor smiles at the explanation and he's filled with determination. Thus, Noor heads to the Academy for Swordsmanship. Just like in the stories, he will become the swordsman who can defeat a dragon with just the single swing of his blade. Training was intense in the academy, with hopeful adventurers doing their best beside Noor, and Noor is also doing his best to practicing swinging his sword. One student manages to make his training sword blaze with fire, which catches the attention of their teacher. The student celebrates that he awakened his powers, while Noor just goes back to training with renewed single-mindedness. A few months pass and Noor is still swinging his training sword around. However, the instructor tells him that he has done enough. Unfortunately, it looks like he doesn't have the talent to the sword. Noor insists that he just needs a little more time, but the instructor has made his decision. Any more training would just be a waste of Noor's time. The only thing he managed to master was parrying to evade an attack. Thus, he advises Noor to choose another path besides the sword. After all, there are other training schools too. Thus, Noor heads over the training school for warriors and tanks. He now wants to become the shield that protects his fellow adventurers. Inside this school, he trained his body by pulling weights and building muscles. A few months later, the instructor informs Noor that he has very good determination, but all he managed to earn is a good body. The art of the warrior is not for Noor. If he forces himself to continue, he might lose his life in the training. Noor once again changes schools and he heads toward the hunter's school next. Unfortunately, the instructor there also found out that he cannot handle any sort of delicate weaponry. This goes on at other schools too. At the feast school, the master thief informs him he cannot dismantle traps, and he also doesn't have the ability to sense other people's presence. At the magician school, the only magic he can produce is a tiny flame at the tip of his finger. At the cleric school, the priest sadly explains to him that he can only use low-level healing. Noor sadly heads back to the Adventurers Guild, where the man there was surprised to learn that Noor didn't manage to learn one decent skill. He spent 3 months at each of the schools, but at last he didn't obtain a class. With a heavy heart, the man rejects Noor's application to be an adventurer. Noor leaves the city with his eyes downcast, and he is not a prodigy meant to become an adventurer. Noor goes back to his house and heads to his mom and dad's grave, apologizing to both of them for failing them. He admits that he does not possess any talents, but still he refuses to give up and decides to train even harder from now on. By carving wood, he creates a wooden sword for himself, and just as his swordsmanship instructors advise, he decides to practice the one skill that he has repeatedly hoping that it will enable him to master a new skill. Having neither sandbags nor training dummies, this unfortunate kid begins to practice his parrying skill with ropes and sticks. He trains mornings after nights for 1 year consistently and masters is to the point that he becomes able to parry 10 swords in one breath. Even though it has been a year, Noor still hasn't unlocked any new skills, but bro still has high hopes because he is getting better at parrying and continuously trains this single skill for the next 3 years as well. He has grown much bigger after this time jump, and his training dummies have changed as well. They have taken on the shape of much larger swords now and look more organized. Noor can even shake 100 swords in one breath now, but what still hasn't changed is bro's poor skill set. He realizes that if this keeps going on, he will never be able to become an adventurer, but the dream of becoming the strongest adventurer keeps him going because he has trained the same skill for more than 4 years. He has so much innate strength that he can even break his sword just by squishing it with his bare hands. He gets his hopes up when suddenly he notices that he can heal his own hand for a moment, so he continues training like a champ for 10 more years. After this time period, Noor's parry skill becomes so overpowered to the point that a single slash from his sword can shake the entire forest around him. It is all thanks to his restless training for more than 14 years that he can now parry 1,000 wooden swords at once, but he still isn't satisfied with it because unfortunately he hasn't managed to unlock any new skills. But bro decides to give it one last shot and bids goodbye to his parents' graves before leaving for the town. Upon reaching the Adventure Guild, he submits another form with the added skills parry, low heel, stone throw, feather step, and tiny flame. These skills look very measly, so the new guild receptionist suggests that Noor go to a training school first. However, Noor has already gone through that process, so the receptionist politely refuses to register him as an adventurer. I mean, people should really see what Noor is capable of before judging him. The guild master comes there and fails to recognize Noor at first sight, but upon closer inspection he realizes that this bulky, tall man is the same frail kid from 14 years ago. Noor criminally undermines how strong his parry skill is, and tells the guild master that after 14 years of restless training, he has only been able to improve his parrying skill a little. Really, Noor, a little? Anyway, the guild master expresses how much he wants Noor to achieve his dream. But because Noor doesn't have at least 2 useful skills which are the prerequisites for becoming an E-ranked adventurer, he can't do anything. However, the guild master remembers a way to register Noor as an adventurer by assigning him the extinct F rank, the lowest of the lowest ranks that perhaps nobody else in this world has. The guild master tells Noor not to get too excited because F-ranked adventurers have many restrictions and conditions on taking jobs. For example, an F-rank adventurer is forbidden from taking any adventurer quests that involve finalizing anything or going out of the city to gather items. The only thing that is allowed are miscellaneous tasks inside the city. Basically, if Noor becomes an F-ranked adventurer, he will be an unofficial laborer. Still, he is okay with that, and so he gets his adventure license from the guild master. Being overjoyed by this achievement, Noor heads out of the Adventurers Guild and immediately starts taking quests in the town. Using his physical enhancement skill, he becomes able to lift way more than the average person and delivers heavy items with ease. Using his feather step skill, he captures a lost cat without revealing his presence and delivers it back to the commissioner. The cat puts scratches on his face, so he uses his low heal skill and immediately heals up his wounds. In the evening, he continues to train his parry skill even more, and at night, he cooks delicious meals using his low flame skill for the elderly in need. With these measly skills, he has become useful to the people of this town, and that itself is enough to fill his heart with contentment. The next day he does cleaning work, laboring work, and even helps with construction, and after completing his commission for the day, that is when he hears the screams of a girl begging for help from the faraway cave. Noor rushes to the cave to help the person in need and becomes shocked to see that a huge minotaur with an axe is trying to attack an innocent-looking girl. There are many knights who are trying to protect the girl, but they stand no chance against this terrifying monster. Seeing that all of these knights are dying in vain, Noor steps up with a sword and uses his only skill, Parry, to counter the monster's deadly attacks. Although he has distracted monster for long enough for the girl to escape, the dumb girl is too terrified to move. Eventually, the monster targets her again, but Noor jumps in front of her and parries another attack, which ends up destroying his sword. As the monster puts all his strength into his next attack, Noor parries once again with all his might, which causes the monster's axe to ricochet and hit its own neck, decapitating it completely. With the monster dead, the girl gets free of her constraints and thanks Noor for saving her life. She asks for his name, but because he doesn't think of himself as anyone important, he doesn't tell her anything and walks away from the limelight. Upon returning to the city, Noor starts calling himself a weakling for barely surviving against a wild cow. Bro didn't even realize that the cow he defeated just now was a powerful demon minotaur. He truly is the most clueless person in anime history. After the brutal battle with the minotaur, the others are now trying to clean up everything. They start removing the large battle axe embedded in the building and clean up the minotaur's body. Nearby, the bodies of the fallen are laid out and the white-haired girl, Lin, is paying her respects. A guard knight of hers, Ines, comes running over and apologizes to Lin for not accompanying her. However, Lin insists that Ines had done nothing wrong. It was her who insisted on traveling alone for the right of succession. Another knight, Dalken, approaches them and informs them that they should return to the castle post-haste. After all, their lord would want to hear the details of the event. At the castle, Dalken reports to Lord Rain of everything that happened. A minotaur from the abyss, the dungeon's innermost depths, had been summoned. They guessed that this is an assassination attempt on Lin since they found a ring on a corpse nearby. They had the ring examined by the spell Sovereign Oaken and found a mana stone highly pure that wouldn't be found on the market. Oaken then traced the spell pattern remaining on the mana stone and concluded that it originated from the magic empire of Deridas. However, this is no ordinary assassination attempt. They also restrained the princess and didn't even hide the evidence. This must mean that Deridas wanted to start a war. Lord Rain guesses that they must be after the Dungeon of the Lost and the treasures inside it. As for Lin's savior, they have nothing on him. He just slew the Minotaur with a simple sword and then vanished like a phantom. Even their spy group, the Shadow Company, failed to follow him. Lord Rain wondered who this hero could be. Meanwhile, at the guild master was happily surprised upon seeing Noor. Noor wonders why, so the guild master explains how a monster had shown up in the dungeon entrance and caused a lot of chaos since Noor worked at the nearby construction site. The guild master became worried when Noor didn't show up after work. Noor admits that he actually just went home yesterday, since some suspicious people were trying to tailing him yesterday. As for his current disheveled appearance, he just also returned from cleaning the gutters. The guild master was just glad that Noor didn't run into the monster. They heard that even A-class adventurers would probably die against it. Noor was amazed to learn that such strong monsters exist in this world. He had no idea that they were actually talking about the Minotaur, since Noor still thinks he just fought a random giant cow yesterday. Their conversation then led to the mystery man who killed the monster in one blow and mysteriously disappeared. Again, Noor was amazed to learn that there are super strong people out there. Noor really needs to add some status points to knowledge, not just parrying for now. Noor receives his payment for cleaning the gutter. They were then interrupted when a cloaked figure suddenly appeared. It was the white-haired girl that Noor had saved yesterday, Princess Lin, and of course Noor has no idea who she is. Lin apologizes for using a tracking spell on Noor, which made Noor think she is from the Thief Academy. However, Lin corrects him and says she is from the Magician branch, but she also studies the other schools. Noor was amazed at her. While the other people at the guild started to recognize Lin, Lin notices this and asks if she can speak to Noor in private outside. Before they can leave, the guild master grabs Noor and asks him what he did. Noor assures him that he didn't do anything wrong, but Lin even volunteers to use soundproofing and concealment magic to help them leave. Noor still has no idea who Lin is and asks the guild master if he should follow her. The guild master quickly tells him that he should, but warns Noor not to do anything to offend her. Noor doesn't understand why but agrees. Outside in the streets, soldiers are still looking for Noor, but Noor and Lin just pass by them thanks to the concealment magic. When they reach a secluded area, Lin dispels the magic and apologizes again to Noor. She just wanted to properly show her gratitude for saving her life. He didn't just save her life, but many of their kingdom's citizens. Noor insists that she would have probably been fine without him since she has plenty of great skills, but Lin argues that without him, she doesn't know what would have happened to her. To end their argument, Noor finally accepts her gratitude. However, Lin now wants to show her gratitude to Noor. She offers him all of her and her family's resources to help Noor. Noor quickly says no and tells her that her words of gratitude are enough. This surprises Lin, and she insists that her father also wants to thank Noor in person. However, Noor still declines whatever Lin offered, may it be land or a solution to any of Noor's problems. Noor just turns everything down. Noor is so good at parrying that he even parries everything she offers. Tears soon welled up in Lin's eyes, which confused Noor. Lin then proclaims that she won't budge from where she's standing until Noor allows her to properly repay him. This time her words actually reverberated in Noor's heart, since Noor had used those exact same words when he was applying for the adventurers' training schools. Left with no choice, Noor lets out a sigh of surrender and finally agrees to meet Lin's father. This finally makes Lin happy, but Noor also insists that he won't accept any over-the-top reward. Lin puts back the concealment spell on top of them, and she leads Noor to their house. Noor was amazed at the grandiosity of the house, but Lin just assured him past the guards. While walking inside, Lin asks Noor for his name. Noor introduces himself and asks for Lin's name in return. Lin realizes that she still hasn't actually introduced herself, so she stops and formally gives out her name, Lindbergh Clays, or Lin for short. While walking through the gigantic hallway, Noor wonders how this pretty little girl owns such a huge house. He keeps looking around and comes to the conclusion that Lin is a wealthy noble, which explains why the guild master earlier advised him to be polite around her. The royal knight Ines comes walking there, so Lin excitedly runs to her, asking her if she knows where Lin's father is. According to Ines, Lin's father, the king, is in the audience chamber talking to Lin's brother at the moment. Ines becomes wary of this middle-aged, ugly-looking gutter man and asks Lin if she is being held hostage by him. Lin explains to Ines, telling her that Noor is the mysterious man who saved her from the Minotaur attack yesterday. Understanding that Noor is here to receive the reward, Ines offers to show both of them the way to the king's chambers. Noor, on the other hand, who has no idea what Ines' position is, assumes that she is Lin's maid, assuming that she does laundry and household stuff here, and he wonders why she is wearing such a heavy outfit. Bro is literally the most clueless person ever, and I am here for it. The three of them keep walking together when suddenly Noor notices that a ginger man is sitting beside a window. The ginger man named Gilbert flexes his spell and even attacks Noor, asking him how an ugly loser like him has been given permission to enter here. Before things escalate, Ines clarifies to Gilbert that Noor is Lady Lin's guest, making Gilbert realize that Noor is the mysterious man who one-shot the Minotaur yesterday. Ines whispers to Gilbert, telling him to join them, as well as that she is wary of Noor and what he might do if he is alone with their precious princess, so Gilbert joins the escort gang as well and heads together with them. Meanwhile, King Clays learns from Lin's brother that the Derida's Empire is behind the attack on Lin. Apparently this kingdom and the Derida's Empire have a non-aggression treaty, and so King Clay wonders why they are suddenly trying to break that treaty. During an earlier meeting with the Emperor of the Derida's Empire, the Emperor made it clear that he wanted the rights to the dungeon of these kingdoms because of the treasures that lay there. The Emperor also wanted the military prowess of King Clay's army, claiming that both parties would benefit if Clay complied since there would be no war. Clays makes it clear that he doesn't want to give away his country to a greedy emperor, so he decides with his son Rain that they will go against the Derida's Empire. Lin enters the room and becomes overjoyed just by seeing her father there. She and the knights show proper respect their king, but the blockhead who has no idea who King Clays is just casually walks up to him. Rain notices that Lin is wearing the cloak of the hermit, so he asks her why she took it out without permission. Lin explains, saying that she did so in order to conceal her identity as she went outside to seek out her savior. Speaking of which, she introduces her savior Noor to the king, who comes down to him thanking him for personally coming here to see them. Noor immediately apologizes to King Clays for not knowing the proper manners of how to speak with nobles and apologizes in advance if he accidentally does anything rude. His speaking super casually with the king of this kingdom makes Clay laugh. In any case, the king thanks Noor once again for saving his only daughter's life, and with that, Noor gets excited, as he can now leave and go back home to get a much-needed shower, as he himself can smell the stench of the gutter coming from his body. Of course, the king cannot let the hero who saved his daughter's life go empty-handed, so he tells Noor to go ahead and asks for any reward that comes to his mind. But just as he said before, Noor has no desire for wealth, land, or power, as he is content with all he has. Still, the king persists, and so he allures Noor, telling him that this kingdom is home to the world's oldest dungeon and generously offers him half of the treasures of the dungeon, but Noor once again rejects him, stating that he genuinely doesn't need any grand rewards and promises Clays that his words of gratitude are enough of a reward. Still, the king doesn't want Noor to leave empty-handed, so he interests him with his own personal dark long sword. It's nothing more than a decoration now because Clays has retired from battling in the front lines. But still, Clays believes that it is the very best this kingdom has to offer. Noor grabs the sword and immediately feels the pressure coming from it. His interests are piqued by the beauty of this sword, and since he just heard from Clay that this sword is nothing more than a decoration, he thinks that it may not hold any importance, so he agrees to take it and also decides to give it a try. He first uses his physical enhancement skill to make it easy for him to hold the sword, and then he uses his parry skill, which creates a heavy shockwave, giving everyone present there an idea of how powerful Noor is. The king is quite surprised and impressed to see that Noor can wield such a heavy sword using only one hand, and so he requests that Noor train Lin so that she can become worthy of defending herself. Noor strongly believes that he has no such skills that are good for training another person, and he also mentions that it should be Lin's decision if she wants to train, not Clay's. The king agrees and laughs, and for now lets Noor leave, thanking him once again for saving Lin. While walking out of the castle, Noor wonders how he is going to make use of this sword. The gutter smell coming from him reminds him of the size of the gutter, so he decides to use this sword to scoop out the trash out of the drainage. I bet the king and his royal knights will pass away at the same time if they find this dumb idiot cleaning the gutters with the king's most valued legendary grade weapon. Ines approaches Noor, as she wants to have a personal conversation with him, and goes down on her knees and apologizing to him for not treating him like a hero should be treated earlier. Apparently, it is Ines's duty to shield the royal family from all harm, and that is why she was wary of Noor earlier. Noor finally realizes that Ines isn't a maid and becomes even more baffled to learn that she is the vice-captain of the warrior corps. According to Annie's, she has been known as the Divine Field since her childhood, and has been given the duty to protect Lady Lin, and since Noor has fulfilled Ines's duty during her absence, Ines owes him her life and promises to become someone who he can depend on for his needs. As Ines takes her leaves, Gilbert approaches Noor next, challenging him to a duel, as he wants to see what this guy is all about. At this point, I don't think Noor will ever be able to go back home. The story continues. We see after inviting Noor to join him, Gilbert leads Noor along one of the mansion's corridors. Noor has no idea where they're going, and all he thought about is going home. He asks Gilbert what they're going to do, so Gilbert explains that he wants Noor to join him in a sparring match. At that moment, they finally reached their destination of the mansion's training room where various guards are training. Noor was surprised since the last time he sparred with someone was when he was in training school. Gilbert walks to one of the weapon racks and picks out a wooden spear for himself. He reveals to Noor that he's actually pretty famous in the capital, so he also wants to see what a hero like Noor can do. Noor approaches the weapon is hanging from the shelves and excitedly chooses one. This is a rare chance to learn from a veteran, so he would gladly spar with Gilbert. He picks up a short wooden sword and smiles at Gilbert, happily accepting his challenge. Noor is still doubting his own skills, but he still wants to do his best to keep up with Gilbert. Meanwhile, the guards surrounding them are shocked that someone is actually willing to spar with Gilbert, their captain. They all wonder whether Noor has a death wish or something. Come on, Noor, show these losers what you can do. At the start of the match, Gilbert immediately thrusts his spear at Noor's throat. Noor easily sidesteps the attack, making Gilbert smile since he realizes that Noor is the real deal. He flips his spear and attacks again, swiping at Noor with more dodge. He also dodges Gilbert's next thrusts. Noor could see how smooth and effortless Gilbert's movements are, and he commends Gilbert for training a lot. However, Noor also couldn't help but notice that Gilbert's attacks are so slow. He concludes that Gilbert must be holding back because Noor is too weak for him to show his true strength. Thus, after dodging the next attack, Noor tells Gilbert that he shouldn't hold back too much. Gilbert smiles and apologizes. He realizes that he must be holding back his strength unconsciously because he's used to fighting monsters, not fellow humans like Noor. When Gilbert attacks again, his thrusts this time are much faster and stronger. Noor also recognizes this too, but he still effortlessly dodges Gilbert's spear. He also notices that Gilbert tends to leave himself defenseless while attacking. Meanwhile, Gilbert is getting annoyed that he can't hit Noor. He realizes that Noor must be trapping him and not showing his full strength. Thus, Gilbert opted to use one of his moves. His spear moves in a lightning trajectory straight at Noor's knees. Noor jumps, but this is actually what Gilbert was planning. Now that Noor is in the air, he cannot dodge his next attack. He thrusts at Noor, expecting to hit him, and Noor's eyes grow wide. However, he just leans back and the spear once again passes harmlessly over his head. Noor tells Gilbert that he can still go a little bit faster, but inside he is starting to wonder if he's actually strong. Maybe, just maybe, all of his training had finally paid off. Noor smiles at the thought of actually winning the spar, but Gilbert suddenly unleashes a name, Dragrave. His spear this time is so fast and strong that it creates a crack through the floor as it shoots right at Noor's throat. At the moment of impact, The wind pressure created a whirlwind of smoke and debris, but when it dissipated, Gilbert is shocked to see that Noor wasn't at the end of his spear anymore. Instead, Noor is now standing behind him. Noor hurriedly raises his hand and admits defeat before hurriedly leaving. Back in the training room, the guards are talking about the fight. They praise their captain as a genius for defeating Noor with the sheer wind pressure of his training spear. But as for Gilbert, he had a different conclusion. Ever since he was young, Gilbert knew that he was good with the spear. He always won tournaments in his village. He was so bored of winning all the time until his village elder advised him to fight the strong people in the capital. At the capital, Gilbert spent his time fighting with monsters and defeating any recruits he found, but everyone was so weak that he was bored from the bottom of his heart. One afternoon, his master, the divine sword, notices his downcast face and asks him why he doesn't try fighting Ines. However, Gilbert points out that Ines is a different kind of strong. Instead, he wishes that there are more strong fighters like his master, the divine sword. His master sits beside him and Gilbert asks him why he's not bored like him. His master replies that he's training people in the hopes that someday one of them might surpass him. Gilbert smiles and wishes that someday is now. Back in the present, Gilbert is wondering what kind of guy Noor is. He rejected the king's offers and was confident in speaking, so Gilbert actually liked him. However, he couldn't sense his power, and when they thought, he got so annoyed with Noor for wanting him to attack faster that he ended up using his strongest attack, Dragrave, and yet he felt like was still utterly defeated. When Noor admitted defeat, he wondered if this was because Noor was just avoiding embarrassing Gilbert in front of his men. Noor just walked out after telling Gilbert he's excited for them to meet again in the future. That was also when Gilbert noticed the cracks on the training floor. They weren't there earlier, so that must mean Noor dodged his strongest attack. Gilbert smiles since it looks like he won't be bored anymore. Meanwhile, Noor is also thinking about the spar he just had. He's scolding himself for getting cocky and thinking he was strong earlier. After all, he had to put everything in his skills, physical enhancement and feather step, just to dodge Gilbert's attack. He guesses that Gilbert must have done that to warn Noor not to be too conceited. Thus, Noor's misunderstanding of his own strength still continues. The next day, Noor uses his new sword to clean up the gutters of the city. He is so amazed that the sword fits the canal so perfectly, and he was finishing the job much more quickly than before. He also remembers the words of Lin's dad, of how the sword doesn't break no matter how badly he uses it. In fact, it already looks bad, so Noor wasn't worried about getting scratches on it either. His clients are also so happy with his work that other people also started hiring him. Unfortunately, he doesn't have any job left in the afternoons. His job at the construction site was suspended because of the incident near the dungeon. Noor is starting to worry that he might run out of work as an F rank. Thus, he starts thinking of new ways to work using his new sword. Maybe he can use it as a paddle and give tours on a boat, but he doesn't have a boat. Maybe he can use it in cooking pizzas, but he also doesn't have money to buy a furnace. He can also use the sword as a grill to barbecue some food to sell, but he doesn't have a way to light a fire since his spell, Tiny Flame, it's not enough. Really, Noor? That's what you think is wrong with that plan. Now it makes sense why Noor failed in all his schools. Noor's musings were then interrupted when Lin abruptly arrived and greeted Noor. Noor remembers Ines scolding him yesterday for being too familiar, so he stands up and formally greets Lin. Lin explains that she actually went to the guild master and asked for Noor's location because she has a request. She wants to be Noor's page. Noor has no idea what she's talking about, so Lin explains that a page is someone who attends their teacher's daily needs while receiving the teacher's wisdom. In other words, she will basically be like Noor's apprentice for assistance. She promises not to trouble Noor and do her very best, but Noor instantly rejects her offer. Lin persists and promises Noor that she can be of assistance to him. After all, she scored highest in all 6 training schools. Meanwhile, Noor tries to reiterate that he has nothing to teach her. She might be helpful, but Noor is a grown man who can take care of himself. Lin tries to change tactics and offers to pay him, but Noor rejects that too. He also rejects her offer of doing anything he wants. In the end, Lin starts tearing up again and decides to demonstrate her skills to convince Noor. She quickly casts Icicle Dance and Hell Flare in quick succession, filling the air around them with ice and burning them up again. Next, she whips out her blade and uses Mist Blade. In the blink of an eye, the huge tree behind her toppled over from being cut. Noor's jaw drops upon seeing her skill, but she still isn't done. Lin pulls out a cloth and creates a magic sword. She then uses Divine Slash to obliterate the tree next to Noor. She was still about to continue, but Noor stopped her. She thought that he is finally going to accept her after seeing her skills, but Noor just feels more pathetic now that he saw Lin's numerous skills in the different branches. Lin still doesn't understand why Noor is rejecting her. She knows that she's probably still not as strong as Noor, but all 6 sovereigns had acknowledged her skill. To make her understand, Noor decides to showcase his own skills. He starts by showing Lin his magic tiny flame. Lin was speechless at what she saw. Well, Noor finally parry away Lin's apprenticeship. A few hours later, a downcast Lin is walking home. Lin is remembering the story told by her teachers from the training schools. The story was about a talentless 12-year-old boy who finished all 6 training schools. Lin brought the story was just a fairy tale, since how can a boy survive all those hellish training without any talent when even hardened fighters give up after 3 days? She thought the story was fake, but now she knows it must be true when she meant Noor. In the past, instructor Oken, the sovereign of the magic school, showed her how through training, even a bottom-tier spell like Tiny Flame can grow bigger. Of course it would be impractical even Oken. A 200-year-old man and the world's strongest magician can only change the size of the flame a little bit. Lin tried to improve her own tiny flame too after that, but her flame never changed size. That was when she realized that it would need an incredibly long period of dedication to make something like that happen. That was also why earlier when Noor showed his tiny flame, she couldn't say anything. Noor's tiny flame was several times bigger than Oken's, the world's strongest magician. His tiny flame is almost the size of his head, while Oken's are just the size of a fingernail. Noor, who has no idea that his flame is actually big, then explains to Lin that his skills on the other branches are about the same as his tiny flame. Noor thought he meant that all his skills were bottom tier, but Lin understood it as him telling her that his skills are unparalleled in all 6 branches. Thus, Lin understood why she was rejected. She only showed him some of her skills, while Noor is so awesome that he can even deflect a minotaur's attack with an ordinary sword. Noor doesn't even boast of his strengths but just helps the people around the city. Noor is strong not just physically but morally too. In the near future she will be in a position to lead this kingdom alongside her brother and father, and the rule of the Clay's family is that those with royal blood must be strong. This means that she also needs to be strong like Noor. With her mind decided, she finds Noor later that night. She smiles and tells him that he finally understands how immature she is. Therefore, she promises that she will follow Noor's teachings until he suddenly deems her worthy of becoming his page. Meanwhile, Noor has no idea what just happened. The story continues. We see at the Lin's place, her older brother, Rain, is thinking over his father's actions. He has no idea why their father would give Noor a newcomer with unknown lineage his famous Black Blade. Black Blade is a prime dungeon relic that their father obtained from his adventuring days after delving into the deepest part of the Dungeon of the Lost. They tried to determine what it was made of, but all they learned is that it is harder than any metal known to man. Countless craftsmen and blacksmiths tried to study it, but they couldn't even scratch on it. That is when it was given the nickname the Unbreakable Blade. However, the sword also looks like it's already bent and beaten up, so what could have done that to it? Rain gazes out at their kingdom and realizes that he should just trust his father. Their father must be counting on Noor to play a pivotal part in the future of their country. Meanwhile, Noor himself is at the marketplace with Lin. Noor is still apprehensive with the noble like Lin being with him, but Lin insists that she's just acting as an adventurer right now. She also calls him Instructor Noor, which worries Noor because he still doesn't feel like he should be a teacher, but no matter what he does, Lin keeps following him. Therefore, he just decided to go get jobs in the guild and show Lin how simple and dull his everyday life really is. At the guild master is surprised and curious as to why Lin is still with Noor. However, before he can say anything else, Lin demands that she should be treated just like an adventurer. The guild master determines that he should just mind his own business, while Noor asks him for a 2-man quest since Lin is a silver B rank adventurer. The guild master informs them that they can actually accept the goblin hunting job outside the capital. Noor immediately gets excited because goblins are typical monsters that adventurers fight to test out their skills. This means that he can finally get real combat experience. Bro seemed to have forgotten he fought a minotaur already. Noor smiles since he might be able to go out of the capital and go on a real quest just like a real adventurer. However, he also feels guilty since the only reason they are qualified for the job is due to Lin's high rank. After all, he himself was just insisting earlier that Lin should go home. Lin is staring at Noor and waiting for his decision, but Noor misunderstood this as him judging her. Noor asks her if it's really okay if they form a party, and Lin happily replies that she's happy to help her instructor. Thus, Noor decides to just accept her offer. He still feels like he's using Lin, but he still wants his childhood dreams of becoming an adventurer to come true. Noor picks up his black blade and walks confidently out of the door, leaving both Lin and the guild master confused. The guild master calls out to him and points out that he still hasn't given them the details of the quests. The few minutes later, the guild master stamps his approval on their quest forms and warns Noor to be mindful of his limits. He then pulls out a map and points out the location where they can find the goblin. It is inside the forests of beasts, and they would have to bring back the goblins right here as proof that they successfully completed the quests. If they cannot find the goblin, they can just pick up some medicinal herbs so their travel wouldn't go to waste. Thus, Noor's first adventure is now starting. He and Lin give their papers to the city guard, which opens up the gate for them with. A few hours of walking later and they are already at the forest of beasts. Noor is awestruck since the forest is so dense and all the trees are different from what he's used to. To pass the time productively, Noor asks Lin to explain what goblins are to him. Lin then explains how goblins are predators that hunt small animals and also eat fruits. However, they can also be aggressive and attack humans for food. If goblins are left unattended, they can multiply quickly until their supply of food runs out. If this happens, the goblins would just go outside the forest and start attacking human villages. This is the reason why the guild always has quests that involve hunting goblins to control their population. Of course, it's also dangerous to kill them all off because they are not sure how it might affect the ecological system of the forest. After all, the forest is also the source of multiple rare animals, plants, and is also used as training grounds for adventurers. Noor is amazed at how much Lin seems to know about a random forest. He is also disappointed because it looks like he really doesn't have anything he can teach her. They go so deep into the forests that fall quickly envelopes them, and yet, they still cannot find a single goblin. Lin uses her tracking magic, but it also fails to locate any. They conclude that other adventurers must have reduced the goblin numbers successfully. However, Lin's magic did also manage to find another monster-like being, so it's not like all is lost. It was deeper inside the forest, but since they still have nothing to show for their journey, they decide to delve deeper. The foliage is getting thicker and thicker as they venture farther into the trees. Lin is then surprised when the monster signaled she was receiving abruptly disappeared. She updates Noor and Noor wonders if it was killed by a disease or old age. When they finally reached the supposed location of the monster, there really is nothing there. However, Noor suddenly senses something from beyond the trees, and they look up and see the lower half of a bloody monster floating in the air. Lin immediately jumps into action and fires off a revealing spell in front of them. Her magic hits something and the illusion breaks. What was just empty air earlier it's now revealed to have a gigantic and muscular goblin standing before them. It has a red gem on its forehead and is more than double the height of Noor. They encounter a freaking goblin emperor, which is a catastrophe-class threat, but Noor, being the epitome of dumb and dumber, assumes that this monster being is the measly goblin that he has heard about his entire life. I mean, of course he would give the wrong idea. The entire description of a goblin completely checks out. It has green skin, walks on two legs, and uses tools as their weapons. Can we really blame Noor here for being an idiot? Whatever, the Goblin Emperor releases huge roar, which generates a huge shockwave that almost sends both Noor and Lin flying away. Lin justifiably becomes terrified of this monster and completely immobilized by the very sight of this abomination. Noor assumes that the only reason is so terrified, even though she is much more talented than he is because he is very inexperienced in real combat, so he encourages her, telling her not to be afraid as it is just a goblin, the weakest of the weakest monsters that the real adventurers deal with every single day. With Noor's motivation, Lin musters up enough courage in her to fight alongside her instructor. According to Lin, Goblin Emperor are artificially created through forbidden research, and these beings are so rotten to the core that they devour their own kind without the slightest hesitation. So, seeing that Noor is super confident against such a monster, Lin also gets the wrong idea and assumes that her great-great instructor chose this mission, predicting that the Goblin Emperor would come here, and with Noor being by her side, Lin shows no fear anymore and steps back like a true hero to let her sensei handle things with the Goblin Emperor. The Goblin Emperor charges straight at Noor with a giant vine, and Noor elegantly parries its attack, cutting his weapon into half. The monster continues to hammer his weapon against Noor with the goal of cornering him so that he cannot make any more moves, but Noor parries his way out of the monster's attacks, opening up an opportunity for Lin to land a wind magic spell on the monster. The monster skillfully dodges Lin's wind cutter's attacks and starts moving towards her, as closing in the distance against the mage is the best option for close combat fighter. Lin uses her ice magic next, but yet again failed to land a single hit. The monster closes in enough to launch his weapon straight towards Lin, but Noor intervened just in time and parries the weapons away. The Goblin Emperor picks up more wooden logs, but Noor parries everything. Lin figures out that the crimson gem on the Goblin Emperor's forehead is its weakness. She quickly uses her ultimate attack's wind blast to immobilize the monster for a moment. When she notices that it can regenerate instantly, she figures out that her monster's gemstone is a magic stone that is allowing it to heal, and so she tells Noor to destroy it, as that is their only way to win. Noor comes up with a plan and instructs Lin to fire at his back with her wind blast attack. With this strategy, Noor outspeeds the Goblin Emperor, uses physical enhancement and feather steps to avoid the Kamer attacks and strikes straight at its forehead, causing the gemstone to fall out. While the monster is cowering in pain, Lin collects the gemstone and brings it back to Noor. Noor tells Lin that she should be the one to finish the job, and being the humble guy he is, he requests her to subjugate monster as painlessly as possible, but Lin is like, whatever dude, and proceeds to burn the freaking monster alive using her signature moves Hellflare. With the Goblin Emperor burned to crisp, the cremation part is also settled. Lin prays for the goblin soul, while Noor lets out a sigh of relief as his mission is finally over. He of course believes that his goblin hunt quest is complete, as he is completely unaware that he isn't yet to encounter an actual goblin because of all that misunderstanding. Remember kids, eat your vegetables, otherwise you will also end up becoming as dumb as this loser here. But anyway, Noor also realizes that he cannot make such risky missions anymore and becomes determined to train more, as he needs to become stronger to fight goblins, the weakest of the weakest monsters. After dealing with the monster's remains, Noor and Lin return to the city. On the other side, Lin's brother Prince Rain learns about the appearance of this catastrophic monster in the dark forest, and that makes him wonder if there is someone behind the scenes orchestrating these ominous events. He reveals to have received the magic stone from Lin, and judging by the magic stone's purity, he figures out how massive the Goblin Emperor was in size. According to the reports that Rain's subordinates have gotten, the Goblin Emperor is several times larger than a Goblin King, which is not surprising seeing how abnormally powerful this magic stone is. Rain can only think of one party behind this monster's appearance, and immediately accuses the Magic Empire Derridas of scheming this evil plan to lay waste to this kingdom. But what Rain cannot believe is the fact that Lin and Noor were able to defeat the monster all by themselves, learning that the monster was hiding inside the forest using an advanced concealment spell. Rain assumes that the monster was hiding in that place for several days. Apparently even the Shadow Company, the best mages of the kingdom, were unable to detect that concealment spell, and that makes Rain wonder how this monster even ended up there. If it was transported or summoned there, their sensory network would have caught it. Failing to come up with any probable conclusion, Rain asks his subordinates for a detailed report about the similar incidents occurring in the forest, and then tells them to continue their investigation. Meanwhile, Noor informs the guild master about their battles, and hearing everything, the guild master becomes proud, as he had never expected that this talentless loser would achieve such a feat, nor being humble as ever, gives all the credit to Lin, giving the guild master the wrong idea that Noor was just standing there in the sidelines watching Lin fight the monster. Honestly, the amount of miscommunication in this series is crazy. The guild master learns from Lin that the goblin had a gemstone on its forehead, and so he assumes that it was a rare goblin, as there is no chance in hell that this loser and his weak little girlfriend fought some giant monster all by themselves. The guild master tells Noor that they will have to show him the proof that they have subjugated the goblin, otherwise he won't be able to give them the payment for the guild commission, but Miss Genius here burns the entire thing. So, they end up getting nothing on their first day as an adventurer duo. The story continues. We see Lin's brother and heir to the throne, Lord Rain, studies the new reports brought to him by his spies, his brows furrowed in frustration at all the strange events occurring in their country. There are reports of strange noises at night, missing pets, a grandfather missing, whole forests going suddenly silent, and livestock cowering in fear. Rain has no idea what is happening to their land. He then remembers the recent incident with Lin at the Forest of Beasts, and he realizes that invisible enemies must have infiltrated their territory. He quickly orders his men to dispatch some guards who have the skills uncover and detect concealment. He also sends out a call for the 6 sovereigns for an emergency meeting. His men quickly rush out to fulfill his orders, leaving Rain in the room angry at himself for not noticing earlier the signs of invasion. His anger at the Magic Empire grows, and he wonders why would the Magic Empire want Dungeon of the Lost so much that they are willing to raze other countries to the ground. Meanwhile, in the city markets, Lin is happily sharing a meal with Noor. Despite how they accidentally burned the goblin's ear from their last hunt, the guild master still took pity on them and gave them their reward. Their food ultimately tastes better since they know that it came from their own hard work. Noor stares at Lin's and he wonders how long she's planning to follow him around. Why can't Noor just enjoy eating dinner with a beautiful girl by his side? Thankfully, his silent question seems to have been answered as Lin turns toward Noor and informs him that it's time for her to go back home for the night. She was about to leave when Lord Rain suddenly appeared. Rain greets Noor and apologizes for interrupting their meal. However, he was hoping to give Noor quest. Rain asks Noor if he and Lin can visit a town in the mountains tomorrow morning. He even offers to provide the arrangements for their carriage and guards. Rain stresses that he cannot explain everything fully, but they do need Noor's help. After his meeting with Noor, Rain submitted a formal quest to the guild. Therefore, when morning came the next day, Noor found himself in a carriage traveling through the countryside. It was actually an easy job and Noor can just relax in the carriage. But in reality, the real reason he accepted the job is that Noor wanted to try riding a carriage even once in his life. Dude is really just here for the sweet ride. They pass through small towns, meadows and farms. All the while Noor happily gazes out of the window and absorbs the pretty scenery. He had never left the capital before, so he is taking this chance to see everything. Noor then notices that Lin looks sad in front of him, so he tries to spark up a conversation. Lin apologizes to Noor for getting him entangled in all of their family problems, but Noor assures her that it's okay. After all, he is getting paid for this job. Yesterday, Rain explained to them that their destination is northwest of the capital in the mountain city of Tauros. All they have to do is wait there for a while, and if nothing interesting happens, they should explore the mountains until they reach the next country, the holy theocracy of Mitra. Noor was confused why they needed him to just tag along, and he didn't notice how serious and solemn Rain's attitude is. Lin hopes that nothing really happens during their trip, so Ines chimes in that she is also there to make sure of it. Secretly, she has another mission from Rain. Rain had explained to her that the capital is about to face a disaster, so he ordered Ines to escort Lin to Tauros. If their kingdom falls, Ines would have to guide Lin and flee their kingdom into their neighbor, the holy kingdom of Mitra, who will take them in. They didn't tell them the truth because if she knew, she would definitely insist on staying behind. Ines also doesn't want to leave, but she is the only one Rain can trust to take care of Lin. After a few hours of traveling, the group takes a momentary rest by the side of a river while Lin is busily petting the horses. Ines apologizes to Noor for dragging him into their troubles. She promises that she will also protect him too. Noor smiles and reassures her that he can take care of himself. If worst comes to worst, he can just run away. Ines hopes that this won't be necessary since she has her shield with her. This confuses Noor since he doesn't see a shield anywhere, so Ines decides to demonstrate it for him. Ines puts out her hand and summons her divine shield, a light green barrier of energy. Noor is amazed and starts poking at it while Ines expounds how the shield can block most weapons or spells. Noor gazes at Ines and recalls that she is supposed to be as strong as Gilbert. Since rumors say Gilbert can defeat a dragon, then Ines probably can too. Noor thinks that unlike him, who struggled with a single goblin, their strengths are otherworldly. Really, Noor? I think you need to take a reality pill. Noor compliments Ines for being talented, but this just makes Ines remember her childhood. She was growing up in an orphanage when she first discovered her mysterious power, and she was able to summon energy in her hand. A friend of hers curiously pokes at the energy, but her finger immediately bleeds and she screams in pain. Ines was traumatized, and a few hours later, adults called the Six Sovereigns had summoned her to their office. A kind priest reassures her that he already healed her friends and asks Ines show her power again. Mage Oaken observes her power and remarks that it's a very rare gift. Ines would be able to shape the energy into a blade that cuts anything or even a shield that defends against anything. In summary, her gift could easily topple nations. A mighty warrior then speaks up and promises to help her train her gift. The Holy Knight Dandalg taught Ines how to defend using her god shift and trained her enough at her young age that she became able to defend against the falling rock herself. Although Ines then had total control over her powers, she still was worried of the possibility that she might accidentally hurt someone. So, she began distancing herself from her friends and the people around her, and soon enough, she became a lone knight. Fast forward to when Ines met Noor at the castle. She first heard of his name when she was at the forest with her master and foster father, Dandalg, in the process of subjugating a monster. In a moment of hesitation, Ines dropped her guard and almost got herself killed, but Dandalg saved her life by intervening just in time. Apparently Dandalg had the weird habit of always mentioning this unfamiliar name called Noor, and back then when they suddenly received a report that a large horde of monsters were approaching them, Dandalg stated that things would have been a lot easier for them if Noor was with them. That of course confused Ines because she had never heard of Noor, but Dandalg never cared to explain and only told Ines to not pay attention to what he said. Ines didn't understand why her father wanted Noor to be there even though he had a gifted daughter like herself. She became envious of the man he didn't even know and knew that that very man was sitting right beside her. Her jealousy had reached its peak. That explains why all this time Ines has been rude towards Noor. Ines knows herself that her childish behavior is not suited for a knight whose sole duty is to shield the house clays, so she redirects her focus towards only keeping Lady Lin safe. On the other hand, Noor freely appreciates the beauty of nature from the carriage, when suddenly he notices that in the distance there is a strange trail inside the wheat fields. Ines notices the sudden change of expression of Noor, so she asks him if anything's wrong, and in response Noor tells her what he just noticed. Lin also looks outside and sees that strangely, some ominous aura is trampling the wheat fields and sucking the life out of the crops, so she tells Ines to stop their carriage and steps out immediately to deal with the hidden monster. As she uses her uncover spell on the surrounding area, a gigantic toad monster with wings reveals itself. Meanwhile, on the other side, King Clay learns from Rain that the attack on their kingdom has begun. Multiple monsters have started invading the royal capital from all sides, but the king's forces are struggling to deal with them, as they are lacking in numbers. Rain orders his subordinate to deploy the Swordsman Corps, so that they can help evacuate the citizens. He also tells him to deploy the Shadow Company and the Hunter Corps, so that they can help the knights eliminate the invaders. King Clay doesn't understand why the Derida's empire would go to such lengths just for the treasures of the Lost Dungeon. He asks Rain about the situation and learns that the 6 sovereigns are also helping the knights, but still, he doesn't think that would be enough. The scene shifts and we see 3 goblin empires are toying with the knights, trampling on them like they are nothing but ants. Dandalg arrives there with the goal to assist the remaining soldiers and commands them to protect the area with their lives. We get a glimpse of what the other members of the 6 sovereigns are doing as well. The swordsman has slays dozens of monsters all by himself in his governing area. The archer is commanding the archery squad to attack the enemy from the distance. The wizard is burning the monsters alive. The healer is healing the wounds of the injured soldiers, and lastly, the assassin is taking down the monsters from the shadows. Coming back to Noor's side, a young boy reveals to be escorting the toad monster, and when Lin breaks the barrier with her uncover skill, the monster goes out of control and attacks the boy first. Noor, being the embodiment of empathy, goes to save the kill and carry the monster. In the meantime, Ines realizes that the boy that Noor is trying to protect is of a demi-demon, since he was able to control that monster. According to what Lin has learned from her brother Rain, the demon folk almost went to extinction 200 years ago because of their monstrosity towards humankind, but some of them managed to hide themselves and are still plotting to take their revenge on the humans, so it is crystal clear that this boy here brought the toad dragon to destroy mankind. Ines doesn't think that Noor should help a demon and cause Noor a foolish person for not thinking straight. In any case, Ines thinks that Noor won't survive against this monster, but Noor here claims to be doing just fine and starts to wonder why this toad is so weak. The toad launches a magical attack on Noor, but instead of dodging it, Noor parries it to protect the boy behind him. This turns out to be a big mistake, as the attack spills toxins that poison Noor. The air around him also becomes intoxicated, forcing him to surrender. Lin steps ahead to help her master, but Ines stops her as she doesn't want Lin to get hurt too, leaving Noor all alone to die. Now that the monster has dealt with Noor, it attacks Ines and Lin with the same poison breath. Ines uses her divine shield to protect both of them, telling Lin to forget about Noor and focus on surviving, as she, the princess of this kingdom, is more important than he is. Our good bro doesn't need the help of this selfish bitch, and in the dying state that he is, he parries the monster all alone, showing Ines that unlike her, he is the true shield who is ready to do anything to protect the people around him unconditionally. But his body can't only take so much, and he falls to the ground, starts coughing up intoxicated blood, and Noor wonders if this is going to be the end of him. A flashback shows a mud brick city where a group of 7 children are enslaved and imprisoned because apparently they are all cursed. The demon boy named Rollo, who Noor is protecting with his life at the present time, was among those cursed children. But why are they called the cursed children? It's because all of them from birth possess the power to control magical beasts, explaining why the demon boy Rollo is able to control the monster toad. All their lives, these 7 poor children are treated like trash by the authorities and are also fed trashed. According to Rollo, things weren't always like this. Originally, their cursed was known to be just another ability that was used to control the farm animals. But then one evil man started using that ability to control deadly monsters in war and committed many war crimes tainting the ability. As a result, all of the people who were born with the ability including Rollo faced mass hatred and were treated like lowlifes. One day, Rollo raises his voice against the guards for treating him like he is some sort of criminal, even though he hasn't committed any crimes in his life whatsoever. His courage to speak results in a brutal beating that ends with Rollo looking completely unrecognizable. The kid accepts his bizarre life and eventually awakens another ability, hidden beneath his cursed power, the ability to read people's minds. Not soon after, people find out about Rollo's mind-reading abilities and become even more violent towards him. Every day they shout and throw rocks at him, calling him an evil demon. At this point, Rollo realizes that anything he says or does can be used against him, so he stops retaliating and continues to suffer silently alone. But then things take a turn for the better for Rollo and the other children. The boy, who has abused his entire life just for being born a demon folk, is given a chance to have peace on the condition that he attacks King Clay's kingdom. The prisoner in charge approaches him, appointing him with a special task to escort a toad monster to Clay's kingdom and use it to eliminate the enemies. The prisoner in charge promises Rollo that if he does as he is told, he and all the other children will be well fed from now on and will never be beaten again. Rollo isn't able to confirm whether the man is telling him the truth because the man is apparently wearing Magneto's helmet, so he takes the risk for the sake of his suffering brothers and sets on his way to the kingdom. When passing through the crop fields, Lin detects his presence, breaks the seal, and awakens the monster. Being released from Rollo's control, the monster attacks Rollo, and as he is headed away, the only thing that Rollo can think of is that he has failed in his task, and now friends will have to suffer again because of his own failure. So he gives up completely out of shame and accepts his fate then and there, with the only hope that in his next life God won't let him suffer the same tragic fate again. As the toad comes close to him and raises its arm to attack, Rollo closes his eyes, embracing his death. But then he hears the noise of a sword clanging and finds a human parrying continuously against the monster in order to save his life. Rollo doesn't understand why a human is trying to protect low-life demon like him. As the toad releases its tolls and gas into the atmosphere, Noor starts to bleed everywhere, but he doesn't put focus on himself and first make sure it's Rollo is alright to make sure that Rollo doesn't suffer. Noor uses the last bit of his powers and uses his low heal spell on the kid to make him immune from the toad's toxins. Being intoxicated, Noor continues to battle the toad with all his might until his body gives up on him and forces him to fall to the ground. He puts his hand on his mouth and finds blood in his mouth, so he apologizes for letting everyone down like that. In this perilous moment, Noor recalls the day when he was still a teenager living alone in the mountains after failing to learn anything in the royal capital. That day, he went out to go gather some fresh herbs and ingredients in the nearby mountains and returned with a lot of materials. He used some of the ingredients to dry out some to make pickles and the rest to make some soup. Unfortunately, he was not that much of a great cook, and some of the ingredients he picked were highly poisonous. I mean, who could blame him? The boy was and still is completely illiterate. Anyway, after ingesting the highly poisonous food, Noor coughed up blood everywhere and realized that his end was near. But he didn't give up and for the rest of the night, used low heal on himself and managing to survive in the end. The next morning he decided to read some books finally, and learned that the ingredient he used to make soup was highly poisonous and remembered that his belated mom also told him once to never eat that herb. Bro learned from his mistake, but did he actually learn from his mistake? On that very day, Noor limped to his training ground to practice skill and force low heal on themselves to the point that it stopped hurting. He got hungry and went out searching for food on that day and found the same poisonous herb that caused him so much trouble. As he lost himself in his thoughts while staring at that herb, a highly poisonous snake bit him on his butt. However, it was the snake that died at the spot and nothing happened to Noor. Bro unlocked poison resistance but had no idea about it whatsoever. Noor brought the dead snake back home and ate it. He found the snake meat so delicious that from that day on he started hunting snakes and deliberately allowed one to bite him to test his poison resistance, realizing that he had gained some poison tolerance. Noor's hope went all-time high as he started to believe that he would finally unlock a new skill. To unlock this new skill, Noor began eating poisonous things from then on, even if it resulted in him coughing up tons of blood. Although he didn't unlock any new skills, at least he has now become able to tolerate the toad's poison. Because the toad is extremely poisonous, Noor assumes that it tastes extremely delicious as well. With the desire to eat the toad, he gets up showing everyone that he is okay and begins parrying the monster's attack all this powerful. Rollo is left amazed by this mysterious human's power, and can't believe that a single person with no armor is able to take on a calamity-level monster all by himself. Noor continues to parry, forcing the toads to collect the air around him to launch an all-or-nothing death strike. Noor anticipates the attack, and so he parries his sword below Toad's mouth just before the release of its attack, causing it to explode and self-destruct. Well, there goes dinner launching in the sky. At least, the good thing is that both Noor and Rollo are now safe. Noor approaches Rollo and asks him if he came all the way here all by himself. Rollo gets the vague idea that this old man has Lowick, so he confesses to him that he was the one who had brought the toad monster along with him to take it to the royal capital. It seems that Noor having Lowick is an understatement, as he for some reason thinks that the boy was bringing the monster to the city to deliver its exquisite meat, so that everyone there could have the taste of it. Noor also assumes that the only reason Rollo used a barrier to hide himself and the monster was so that he didn't get robbed by any bandits and safely reach the city, so he blames himself for killing the toad and for ruining the feast. He apologizes to Rollo, promising him that he will pay him back one day as he currently doesn't have any money with him. Rollo doesn't get Noor's intentions, and so he just gets over with the conversation, telling him that he really doesn't need to pay him anything at all. In any case, what Noor doesn't understand is how Rollo was able to bring that monster all the way here all by himself. Rollo reluctantly explains by revealing to Noor that he has the ability to control monsters. The kid who has been condemned and tortured his entire life for having this curse expects no less from Noor. But to his surprise, Noor becomes amazed by his rare skill and tells him that he must be loved by the heavens since he was born gifted with that skill. Rollo doesn't think that is the case and reveals that he is a demon folk and all demon folk are able to control monsters. Still, Noor finds it impressive and wonders what he would have done if he had Rollo's skill. He imagines making wild animals like bears and rabbits help him to cultivate this form, and then use birds to deliver letters. If he had this ability, he wouldn't have to worry about sleeping alone in a forest, as he would have a pack of dogs protecting him all night. Rollo has no clue what's wrong with this bozo, so he straightforwardly asks him why he isn't afraid or feeling disgusted after learning Rollo is a demon folk. Noor states that he doesn't just hate anyone for no reason but admits that he is indeed a little bit jealous of Rollo because of his amazing ability. Rollo starts crying as he cannot believe that there exists a person in this world who doesn't hate him or his ability. Seeing Rollo getting emotional, Noor becomes confused. He compares his life with Rollo's. Unlike him, Rollo is blessed with a good ability, and yet the kid doesn't realize how good it is. In any case, Noor offers the kid with some comforting words and tells him that there are many people in this world who would love to have a talented boy like him beside them. Lin and Ines finally make their way to Noor and immediately make sure that he is not hurt or anything. Yeah, if they cared or anything they would have helped Noor. Noor claims to be in perfect condition, which surprises both Lin and Ines as they thought that he would surely die due to the toad's toxic poison gas. Lin assumes that the only reason Noor is completely unscathed is because he has the sacred spirit. According to what Lin heard from her instructor saying, who had the sacred spirit, a person could unlock it by mastering both the body and mind. By doing so, they are able to heal all of their wounds automatically. This is all but a speculation though, and she is probably never going to ask Noor directly, and thus we are never going to know for sure. Anyway, Noor invites Rollo to come travel with them in their carriage. But Ines doesn't allow it, telling Noor that the demon folk are a dangerous race who are being actively haunted down by most of the countries. But upon talking to the kid, Ines realizes that Rollo is just an enslaved kid who is being taken advantage of, learning that Rollo doesn't even know the address back to his home city as he was sent blindfolded part of the way here. Everyone starts to realize that they shouldn't have judged the poor kid based on his race. Lin especially feels ashamed of herself and to repent for her actions. She decides to take the child with them on their journey and tries her best to convince Ines to do so as well. While they are thinking about what they should do to help the kid, a mysterious eye-masked man with a weird-looking weapon makes his entry there. Noor's party is still deliberating and what to do with the demon folk kid named Rollo, when a newcomer arrives in the middle of the field. This new intruder has white hair, eyes bound in cloth, and has no shirt on. Noor, who is still the oblivious hero that he is, asked him if he was the one who ordered the delivery. Noor apologizes for ruining their delivery, but the intruder further just reiterates and he is there for something else. He is there for Rollo and points his claws like sword at him. Noor smiles and asks him if he is there to pick up Rollo up. The intruder creepily licks his lips and admits that he is doing something like that. All of a sudden the intruder is instantly behind their party and he is attacking Rollo. Only Noor was able to react accordingly and parried the attack with his own blade. Ines quickly grabs Lin and retreats, while Noor looks confused and asks the intruder what he's doing. Noor still has no idea that this wannabe Gojo-looking intruder is clearly an assassin. The assassin jumps backward when its attack fails and asks Noor if he cannot just hand over the kid, Noor asks him if he's still talking about Rollo, but the intruder replies that he doesn't care what it's called, all he wants is its corpse. He then darts forward to attack again, forcing Noor to go on the defensive. The assassin then attempts to leap over Noor's head to get to Rollo, but Noor adjusts and quickly parries him back once more, this time destroying the assassin's cross-shaped sword in the process. In the sidelines, Lin can only watch the battle because they're both too fast for her to make sense of it. In addition, Ines warns her to stay behind her, no matter what happens. Meanwhile, the assassin pulls out new daggers from behind his back and dashes forward again. He tries to attack from above but gets continuously blocked by Noor. He receives the attack multiple times, forcing Noor to stay on the defensive with his sword. In response, Noor can only shove the assassin away with the flat of his blade. The assassin acknowledges that he might not be able to kill the kid quickly. Thus, he just has to take care of Noor first. He jumps around and in one sudden motion steps forward. In the blink of an eye, his dagger is already inches away from Noor's face. Noor manages to parry again, but the force of the attack pushes him back. It also created a shockwave that blasts Rollo into the ground. Noor studies himself and he wonders how could such small knives have such heavy attacks. In fact, this man seems to be even stronger than the cow he fought in the past. Meanwhile, the assassin notices that his daggers they're broken once again. Nevertheless, he just pulls out new ones and attacks against. Bro must be a part-time knife salesman or something. The assassin tries to use his superior agilities returned Noor from weird angles. Noor still manages to block his attacks, but he knows that he's in hot water. He is only blocking through his intuition and he is slowly getting pushed back. The assassin continues to increase the intensity of his attack until mirror images appear all around Noor. Lin can only observe from afar, as the winds from the strong attacks buffeted her. Ines even summons barriers all around them to ensure that they won't get caught in the crossfire. Ines actually recognized their attacker. He is simply called Deadman Zadu, a former S-rank adventurer. In the past, Ines found a strange case where the target is already dead, but the case is still open when she brings it up with the 6 sovereigns. They explain to her that the target is actually just declared dead to the public. He is Deadman Zadu, an S-rank adventurer that is now an S-rank target. Gilbert expresses interest in hunting him down, but the 6 sovereigns quickly reject the idea. They point out that Zadu is simply too dangerous and they don't want to throw away unnecessary lives. Oka notices their curious looks, so he finally expounds how Zadu mastered ancient dwarven alchemy and became a dragon slayer at the young age of 13. He then continues to earn more accolades until he's famous throughout the land. Unfortunately, he wasn't as kind as the hero people thought him to be. He started killing people, and since he has a lot of influence with other adventurers, the guild couldn't decide on what to do with him. Zadu continued to accept quests even when it involved killing people, and he even reached the point that he destroyed an entire nation. He killed everyone in the whole country, and that was finally when a bounty was put on him. Unfortunately, the bounty only attracted adventurers to him who ended up all dying. To prevent more deaths, the guild declared him dead. Meanwhile, the battle between Zadu and Noor continues on. However, Zadu's latest weapon also broke again. Noor apologizes for breaking his weapons, but Zadu is just getting curiouser and curiouser. His weapons are made of orichalcum and dragon tusk, so he wonders what manner of weapon Noor is wielding. Nevertheless, Zadu dismisses his wandering thoughts and decides to go back on the job. Thankfully, Zadu doesn't remove his eye bindings to reveal Sharingan, but instead he throws his first broken sword, the cross-shaped one, into the air. The sword floats in the air and starts emitting red energy, but then explodes into 100 pieces, creating more iron swords floating in the air, all pointing downward at Noor. Ines recognized the blade as Iron Cross, a famous weapon that could kill hundreds in a single strike. Meanwhile, Zadu tells Noor that he can try to break as many pieces as he wants. He can just create more. He then sends the rain of steel down at him. Noor fails to parry the 100 of sword coming straight at both him and Rollo. So, he chooses to sacrifice himself for Rollo's sake and uses himself as a human shield to protect the kid. As he continues to tank hits after hits, Rollo feels sorry for Noor and begins to cry. Ines realizes that at this rate, Noor won't be able to survive any more longer. Her human heart tells her to help Noor in this grave situation, but her duty stops her feet from taking another step, reminding her that her only mission is to ensure Lin's safety at all costs. Feeling guilty for the last time when she just stood there while Noor fight the toad alone, Ines decides to help out him this time, but before that she turns to Lin and takes her permission to join Noor in his fight. Noor, in the meantime, continues to parry the barrage flying swords coming at him. Ines, whose blessing is the divine shield, finally uses it for something good and protects Noor from those that he cannot deflect. She demonstrates how her divine shields can be used for both defensive and offensive measures. She also starts throwing her green shields at the dead man Zadu, but none of them hits him as he is far too skilled and agile than her. Zadu cruises through Ines's attacks and runs towards them to close their distance. Ines realizes that if this keeps going on they are going to lose. So, she tells Noor that it is about time that they begin acting like a proper team and devises a simple model strategy with him, telling him to take the offensive while she handles defending them from incoming attacks. Noor stares at the flying swords for a moment and states how he has once dealt with birds that were much faster, implying that he has some degree of confidence against Zadu's attacks. Suddenly, his eyes catch the dragon claw of the dead toad scattered on the ground and it hits him with an idea. He instructs Ines to drop the shield at his signal, picks the claws up and throws them at the flying silver crosses. As the claws and the swords collide, they nullify each other midair. Using this straightforward stone-throwing plan, he continues to throw them as flying swords. Without them noticing, Zadu closes the distance and tries to ambush Ines from behind, but just in time. Noor notices it and parries Zadu's dagger away, saving Ines from becoming blind. The dead man doesn't understand how this nobody is able to block all of his attacks. He asked him how he was able to break the dagger that was made out of one of the rarest metal materials called adamantite. Noor acknowledges how expensive that dagger must have been, so he apologizes for breaking it but blames it on Zadu for attacking Ines out of nowhere. Zadu's ego starts to hurt as he has never taken this many L's on his life. Desperately wanting to land just one attack on Noor, he continues to strike at him from left and right. Unfortunately for him, the result remains the same as before. Zadu suspects that Noor's unusual durability has to do something with his unusual-looking gutter-cleaning sword. Zadu sees that another one this expensive weapon has been broken again, so he decides to accept his loss for today and tells them that he will be leaving to go see the grand festival happen in the royal capital. The three companions, who just came from the royal capital, don't quite understand what Zadu means, but Zadu doesn't explain anything to them at all and only tells Noor that he has never met such a strange nutjob like him. Before leaving, Zadu tries a cheap shot at Noor just for fun and then vanishes away with the hope that they meet again. Noor decides to head back to see this grand festival as well and asks Rollo if he would like to come with them as well. Rollo, who had no idea that Noor's gang came from the capital, becomes absolutely mortified. While trembling in fear, the kid states that there is no point in going back to the capital, as it is going to be invaded by something even more terrifying than the Black Death Dragon. Lin finally figures out that the only reason her brother ordered Unease to take her to Mitra is so that she can stay safe in case anything happens at the capital. She reminds Unease about her duty as a knight to protect the people and gives Rollo as a living example, revealing that Rollo's kind was once too invaded like that, and as a result, most of them are now slaves to the other races. Both Lin and Noor respect Lin's heroic decision and decide to immediately head back to the capital to help the people. Rollo also offers to go with them, as he knows that it is the demons who are responsible for the invasion. Noor doesn't blame the boy at all and pat him on the head, telling him to not feel responsible for others' actions. Noor looks away with a painful smile, making Lin wonder if he is feeling sorry for the kid. However, Noor is actually upset because he didn't get to have a taste of the poisonous toad. On their way back to the capital, Lin's heart starts pounding because of the fear and uncertainty of what might happen at the capital. She calms herself, saying that she has the best swordsman by her side. She also constantly reminds herself of the responsibilities of the princess and decides to put her life on the line to help Noor reach the capital, as he is the only person in the world who can save them from this catastrophe. Meanwhile, in the capital, Lin's brother Rain walks around in the wreckage, indicating that the war is over, although we know from Rollo's statement that there will be another attack soon made by the demon folk. Rain gets the report from his subordinate that most of the citizens have been evacuated, putting his heart at ease. He also learns that the 6 sovereigns and the Shadow Company have repelled the enemy's ambush already. Still, Rain suspects that something more is about to come and begins to wonder from which direction the enemy might attack them from, as he realizes that there is a high possibility that the enemy might come from the skies and uses his uncover spell above him. A gigantic black dragon named the Dragon of Calamity reveals itself. A look into the past, we see Noor being taught by his father about how dangerous dragons are. A certain adventure would slay this beast, and the materials that came from them were turned into very high-quality weapons and medicines. This in turn brought wealth to the land, and it made the adventurer a hero that the people would call the Dragon Slayer. Noor wanted to be a dragon player, but his father explained how difficult it is to slay a dragon. Some dragons are incredibly strong, and they have been alive for thousands of years. They can make the ground crumble with just one step, and they can even destroy entire mountains just by swinging their tail. In fact, their nation was nearly destroyed by dragons that ran wild. Noor's father finished telling him these stories, but Noor never stopped wanting to become a dragon slayer. Back to the present, Noor and his group traveled back to the capital, but Lin is horrified to see the Dragon of Calamity. The gigantic dragon terrifies everyone in the capital, and Rain wonders if the Magic Empire understands the horror they have unleashed on the world. The Calamity Dragon has been asleep for the past 150 years, but it should still be dormant. Rain becomes furious because this means that the Empire awakened the dragon. The dragon causes massive destruction with the single flap of its wings, so Rain orders for everyone to be evacuated. It's a terrible emergency, so he instructs his troops to pry anyone away from their belongings if they're hesitant to leave. One of the heroes watches nearby and she senses the magic is being used to obstruct all the evacuation routes. This is terrible because it makes it impossible for the 6 heroes to unite. We then see that the heroes have their hands full throughout the area. Gilbert tells the king to evacuate, but the king just instructs him to get the citizens as far away from the capital as possible. As for himself, the king has a job he still needs to do. Nearby, Ines determines that there's no hope left for the capital because the dragon will surely decimate it. Lin fears that her father will use himself as a shield, so the citizens can escape, but she knows that even he is no match for the legendary beast. Lin is terrified of what will happen, so she hopes that her father will just leave the capital instead of fighting. Just then, everyone is shocked to see how casual Noor still is. He says that he has never seen a dragon before, but Lin points out that the monster he defeated earlier was also a dragon. Lin explains that her father and brother are still in the capital, but it's too late to help them. Noor casually says that he thinks he can make it in time if he runs, but this just shocks Lin. Noor says that they can use her wind blast again like they did against the goblin, but Lin fears that the power needed to get him to the capital in time will end up hurting him really bad. Noor reminds her that his sword will take the brunt of the damage. Noor says that he owes a lot to the people of the city and to the king, so he wants to help. All he has to do is help the king escape, and he is sure that he can do that. Lin snaps out of her pessimism, and she realizes that Noor is not someone that should be doubted. Her wind blast is not meant to be used on humans, but Noor is not a normal guy. Another look back shows the king refusing to hand over the Dungeon of the Lost to the Magic Empire. He was told that he was just letting it go to waste because it has power to create an army that could control the world. The king explained that he's just choosing not to use a power that is beyond their control. Back to the present, the dragon continues its rampage, and the king determines that the empire will stop at nothing to get the dungeon. He realizes that he underestimated the empire because he never thought they would throw the full force of their might at them. The king now takes full responsibility for the breakdown in negotiations. The capital is facing destruction, but all that king can think about is Lin's safety. This makes the king realize that the empire was right. He is not fit to be king, and he has always been more suited to being on the battlefield. The king apologizes to his people for failing them, and he vows to at least take one of the dragon's eyes with him. Back with our hero, Ines creates a cylinder with her shield to amplify Lin's wind blast, and Noor stands in front of it. To amplify it more, Lin uses magic reflect on her shield several times. This is clearly becoming more intense, and Noor can tell that this is kind of different from the last time. Lin confirms this, as she explains that the impact from this wind blast is going to be far stronger than it was before. Lin puts everything she has into it, and she apologizes to Noor in advance. She remembers not to doubt him though, and unleashes the attack. Rollo is stunned by the amount of power being admitted, and the next thing he sees is that Noor has completely disappeared in the blink of an eye. Back in the capital, the king comes face to face with the dragon. Everyone watching is horrified as a dragon prepares to use its Elder Dragon Breath attack, because it's the one that bring the entire continent to a crisp several 100 years ago. The king realizes that the dragon's giving him no chance to survive, but he's determined to do something kingly at least once before he dies. The king pulls out a dagger and tells the dragon that he's going to show it how tenacious humans are. One of the heroes watching recognizes the dagger. It's the blasting dagger, and it channels all of the wielder's mana into one powerful but sacrificial blow. The heroes are horrified to see that the king is going to sacrifice himself, but they realize that there's no other option. The king goes in to sacrifice himself, but Noor comes out of nowhere to parry the dragon's attack. Everyone watches in absolute shock, as he just shoved the legendary dragon and the dragon collapses. The dragon wonders what is going on, and she is confused to see that a tiny human just knocked her off balance. She declares that the strong control of the weak with violence, and that's just the law of the world. Her giant tail does massive damage to the capital as it moves in to strike Noor, but he just parries that as well. The dragon comes crashing down again, and Noor just thinks about how he thought he wouldn't survive. We then just get a look back to just moments before. When Noor is launched towards the capital, he used physical enhancement to regain his balance, and he sent himself over the castle wall. Noor was surprised to see how fast he got there, but he realized that there was no way for him to stop himself. Noor didn't hesitate though, and just use his parry's ability. Noor never wants to do that again, and he thinks about how parrying the dragon it was way easier than he expected. The dragon gets back up, but Noor doesn't think it's that scary anymore. The girls finally arrive at the capital and they plan to help the king escape while Noor fights the dragon. Unfortunately, they end up getting attacked, but Ines manages to protect them in time. Several goblin emperors appear, but they're quite small compared to the one Noor and Lin confronted. Goblin emperors are still in the league of their own though, so they are in big danger. Lin decides to think like Noor does, so she tells Ines not to worry because they're only fighting goblins. Ines is inspired by her confidence and agrees that these goblins are not nearly as terrifying as the dragon. These goblins in the blasting through her attack, but Rollo steps in and commands the goblins to stop moving. Lin uses the opportunity to freeze them, and Ines convert her shield into a sword. Ines destroys all the goblins with one powerful strike, and Lin realizes why she was given the Divine Sword title. Rollo is just as impressive because he was able to stop the overpowered goblins with just a few words. Such a young kid having this power is incredible, but Lin can tell that it takes great courage for him to use it. Back with Noor, we see that the dragon is getting really frustrated. She keeps attacking Noor, but he just keeps parrying her. Her claws and scale should be indestructible, but Noor is somehow damaging them badly. Noor is shocked by how his sword never gets a single scratch. No matter what he swings it at, he wonders what the secret behind it is, but it doesn't really matter because it's his key to victory. The dragon can't understand what's going on, but she realizes that she can stop worrying because there's no chance that her next attack will fail. She takes to the sky and everyone watches as she gathers a ton of energy into her mouth. She releases the powerful beam right at Noor, but he once again parries it. This sends the attack straight into the air, and everyone watches in amazement as its explosion covers the sky in light. The dragon lets out a roar, but Rollo can sense that there is more to its anger. The dragon is frustrated because Noor isn't treating it as a serious threat, even though that's what it's trying to be. Dragons are very prideful, and this is especially true for the dragon elder, who considers itself to be stronger than anything. The dragon becomes furious because this fight has made it clear that she is the weak one compared to Noor. Noor parry is another one of the dragon's attacks, and the girls are shocked to see there has decided to submit to him. The townspeople watch from afar and their mouth is nearly dropped to the ground. Noor remembers what his father said about the adventurer who defeated dragons. Slaying dragons brought wealth to the people, and he became known as a dragon slayer. However, Noor sees that this dragon doesn't want to fight anymore. Noor decides not to end the dragon's life, and concedes that he isn't really hero material anyway. The rest of his group rushes to him and Noor waves to his friends. The story continues. We see Noor tells everyone that he's okay, and he thanks Rollo for helping. Rollo has no clue what he's talking about, so Noor explains what he just realized. The reason the dragon must have calmed down was because Rollo ordered it to. Noor is shocked when Rollo says that he actually didn't do anything, and the confused Noor points out that the dragon just stopped being hostile from nowhere. Rollo had nothing to do with it, so Noor determines that the dragon must have been intimidated by just the fact that Rollo could control it. Everyone is then stunned when Noor tells Rollo to send their dragon back to where it came from. The others point out that the dragon is still very dangerous, so what would be best to eliminate it while they have the chance? Noor understands the risks, but he doesn't want to hurt the beast. Noor knows that he's asking for something selfish, but Lin understands and agrees to allow it. Rollo isn't sure if he can order around such a powerful dragon, and he thinks he will only be able to ask it politely. Noor can tell that Rollo doesn't like showing his power, so he assures Rollo that Lin and Ines won't be scared of him. These words give Rollo some courage, so he gives it a shot. Rollo is able to understand the dragon, so he informs Noor that it has decided to do anything its master orders. The girls can't believe what they just heard, but the clueless Noor thinks that the dragon is calling Rollo its master. Noor tells Rollo to have it quietly return to its home, and to make sure it never even tries to hurt humans ever again. Rollo passes the message along, and the dragon shockingly agrees to do everything Noor said. The dragon takes to the sky and roars one last time before leaving. Everyone watches as a legendary beast leaves peacefully, but Noor is horrified and a powerful attack knocks it right out of the sky. The terror shared by everyone, and we see that the evil leader of the empire was behind the attack. Daridas is really pleased with himself, and he says that even a dragon that has lived for thousands of years is still just a stupid beast in the end. The dragon was just a pawn, but he's disappointed that it didn't destroy the capital. He decides that he will just have to start the attack anyway, so he has his army summoned nearby. There are a ton of troops and the firepower of his army is unrivaled. A look back shows how the Empire planned out this attack. After the dragon decimated the capital, the troops were to come in and clean up. Foot soldiers would be equipped with magic swords and magic shields, while the elite troops would have magic armor and magic cannons. They would also have massive shields and gigantic mana ray cannons. The king was very pleased by the plan, but a soldier named Randius had a problem with the war. He didn't think that it would benefit the country in the long run, but he was just silenced by Daridas. He refused to let anyone pose a threat to them, and declared that they would show everyone the power of their magic. Daridas wants this war to go down in history, so everyone can know about the foolish decision the Clay Kingdom made. He also wants everyone to know that it was a country of fools, who neglected proper upkeep of the Dungeon of the Lost. They were let down the path of ruin by their own selfish greed. As for Daridas, he will be known as the one who liberated the country of this foolishness. Nearby, Noor and the others find the dragon, but they can't tell if it's still alive without getting closer. Just then they spot the magical empire, and the emperor spots them right back. They see the Princess Lin, but what's most concerning is that Ines is with her. This is because Ines is one of the living legends known all around the world, and Daridas assumes that she was the one that saved the capital. The era where legends rule has come to an end, and Daridas declares at its time for those with wisdom to define the world. Daridas orders for the mana cannon to be fired because even if Ines is known as the divine shield, this weapon will still evaporate her into nothing. She will just be another legend to be defeated by his hand, which is why Daridas loves war so much. The mana cannon prepares the fire and our group notices at the last second, so Ines tells the others to run away. The weapon is fired and Daridas declares that it's all over for her. Ines just stares at the huge beam approaches, but Noor shockingly steps up to parry the giant attack. The beam goes flying everywhere, and no one can believe what they just saw. Daridas' troops are in such disbelief that they think there was something wrong with the weapon, so Daridas has them prepare another attack. Noor is amazed to see such a huge army, and the girls explained that they're trying to annihilate the kingdom. The Clay's kingdom has an army as well, but they don't stand a chance against the Empire's numbers. Ines wants Lin to retreat with her, so Lin wonders what Noor plans to do. Noor says that it should be obvious, and he thinks about how he needs to run for his life and get away from this place as soon as possible. Lin agrees that it was a silly question to ask, but she clearly thinks that he's going to do something heroic. Noor wonders why she is smiling, and wonders if she understood what he actually meant. Noor tries to clarify that he's going to run away, but they're interrupted by another attack. Ines blocks it this time, so the annoyed Daridas decides to take shelter at the rear of his army. They are being pinned down by all the attacks, so Noor determines that there's only one way to escape. Noor tells the others that he's going to distract the army, so they should use that time to get away. Noor thinks that he's bad at fighting, but he is confident in his ability to run away. A look back shows that Noor sharpened his running away ability, but running from swarms of bees, his plan is to run around like crazy, and Lin decide to give him some help. Noor shocked to see that this means she's going to use her wind blast on him again, but she promises to control it better this time. Noor tries to clarify that he isn't just going to throw his life away, but there's no time to talk. Another attack is coming, so Noor enhances himself and then sends them flying. Noor is glad to see that he's able to deflect the Empire's attacks, and he flies across the battlefield. There is no turning back now, so Noor charges right at the entire army. He uses the parry ability he spent all those years practicing, and he disarms a ton of troops. Noor just wants to buy enough time for the others to get away, so he plans to run around and parry everything in front of him. Daridas is horrified to see his army being toyed with, and Noor appears before him. All the weapons that Noor parried went straight into the air, and they come raining down on the army. The giant shields were also parried by Noor, and Deridas can't understand the physics-defying attack Noor is using. Noor continues his chaotic attack, and Deridas wonders who he is. Noor once again ends up near Deridas, and Deridas realizes that Noor was the guy that was just standing next to Lin. He can't understand how Noor covered so much distance, and he wonders why Noor is now ignoring everyone just to stare at him. He fears that Noor knows that he is the emperor, and he freaks out when Noor takes a hold of him. The panicked Deridas reminds himself that his armor and sword are made of crazy powerful materials, so he decides to fight back. Noor flies right past him, so he assumes that Noor ran away, but he just ends up getting knocked around by the mana cannons. Noor keeps flying around like a maniac, and reality sets in for Deridas. His giant army is being destroyed, and so are his shields that were supposed to be able to defend against Dragon's Breath. They're all worthless now, so Deridas demands to know who Noor is. Just then Deridas recognizes Clay's black blade that used to be behind his throne. Deridas is horrified because it's the one dungeon relic that he wants above all others. What's most shocking is that this sword is made from an unknown metal, and it's supposed to be too heavy for any normal human to carry. Even the freakishly strong King Clay needed to use 2 hands to wield it. There's no way this random guy could surpass Clay, but Noor easily tosses the sword over his shoulder. Deridas is really terrified of Noor because he destroyed the entire army all alone, and now he's just keeping him alive to torture him. Deridas is so scared that he wets himself, and he takes off running. He hops on his horse and gets away from Noor as fast as possible. And with that, we have come to the end of this part. Stay tuned for next part. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to receive all the latest updates.